What's up everybody, we're back with another raid guide, and today we're taking a look at the Queen's Court on Mythic difficulty. I'll be going over most of the mechanics, how to deal with them, and our overall tactic for this fight. So for this encounter you want 2 tanks, 4 healers and 14 DPS, if possible no more than 2 or 3 melee DPS. Sadly, this fight really favors ranged DPS, especially Shadow Priest, which I will go over soon. With that said, there's no need to stack your raid with 14 Shadow Priests. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but we killed it with 1 Shadow Priest, so don't think too much about it. Anyways, let's check out what's new on Mythic. Not a whole lot, to be honest. Apart from everything hurting a lot more, you will have to deal with Sphere of Influence. Whenever Ashara enacts a decree, its associated flag will light up and it emanates an aura around it. Anyways, if you stand in one of these auras or zones, you will take ticking shadow damage every second, and it ticks for like 70k plus. It also amplifies the effects of its decree by either increasing the damage it deals or the duration of its effect. So yeah, don't stand in them. On top of this, Ashara also enacts her decrees more often on Mythic, every 30 seconds instead of 45, which means that there will always be a decree up. There's no downtime. It goes from one decree to the next one. So there might not be an abundance of changes on Mythic, but because of the increase in decree frequency and the auras emanating from the flags, you'll need to approach the court a bit differently. So with that said, how do we deal with all of this? First of all, decide on how you want to deal with the charges. Some guilds have a couple of assigned players always help out with soaking these. Others free for all it. We kinda went with that everyone who could soak should soak, and our boomers were always on soak duty. Keep in mind that you don't have to stand on top of the targeted player. They will have a rather large aura around them, so just be within that. Next out, decide on a kill order for the sparks. Some have a set order, like no matter where the bosses are, you always nuke down X spark then Y. Or change it around a bit depending on where the bosses are so you can benefit from cleaving, which is the approach we went for. On the subject of sparks, you want to defeat one of them as fast as possible. Second one you dot up and just make sure it dies after the debuff has gone away from the first one. The third spark you don't DPS at all unless you want it to explode at a specific time. Next out, decide on how you want to deal with form ranks and deferred sentence decrees. Form ranks we just free for all it here as well, but if you want to be on the safe side, assign people to soak them. If you miss one, it is probably a wipe, or it's going to cost you cooldowns you don't want to use on that. For the deferred sentence, just be smart. You control when it deals damage to you, so make sure to not move often and to clear stacks before a big AoE like a spark exploding or if you're targeted by charge. And a few tanks out there, we swapped on every frenetic charge. It made the swaps easier and with little risk of making the bosses immune since Silva stands still during his charge cast. This fight is extremely scripted. There's very little RNG, so I'm going to go over the fight a bit step by step. The most common strat for this fight is to get either Silvas or Pashmar down to 35% as fast as possible, while not DPSing the other boss with more than dot, so that the Shadow Priest can proc their Twist of Fate talent. Which one you start to nuke down first doesn't matter a whole lot. If you're a melee heavy, you can start with Pashmar so that when she hits 35%, melee never has to move away from Silvas to get inside, well, his bubble. We nuke down Silvas first, so this will be mostly from that point of view, but it really doesn't differ that much. Due to the decrease auras, you will need to move the bosses a bit every time a decree is cast or changes. The decrees and flags are always the same order, so the movement is very static, but the goal is to always be back at the starting position when form ranks is cast again. So on pull, tank the bosses roughly where the 2 closest sparks will spawn, which was star and purple mark for us. Move Silvas to the form rank soaks when they spawn and keep him there until after his first eruption. Whenever a decree is cast or changes, you want to move Pashmar as close as possible to the new decree aura, and you keep moving Pashmar like that for the rest of the fight. Move her when decrease changes and you'll be all good. Deal with the first set of sparks, form ranks and zealous eruption, then move Silvas towards Pashmar. Just keep Silvas kinda between the 2 spark spawns nearest, which was purple and red for us. Pre-spread before the third decree, which is stand alone. Make sure to tank Silvas centered between the wall and the decree aura so melee can spread around the boss. After Pashmar's violent outburst, you can move Silvas to the nearest spark, which is around where we have our red mark. Deal with the new spark wave and make sure to clear your deferred stacks in between the explosions. Ideally, you want to kill the last spark either before the 5th decree or right after a healing immune has expired. It is not super fun to have a spark go off into healing immune, but you can survive it. Anyways, for the 5th decree, we had a mark and a gateway going from that mark to where the next form rank spawns. For us, this was the green mark. Have the next Silvas charge go to that mark and have everyone except tanks soak that charge. Silvas will cast Eruption immediately after he charges, so less damage taken and everyone should be stacked for that anyways. When the eruption ends, click the gateway and you'll be on top of the form ranks as they spawn. During this, make sure to pull Pashmar as far away as possible here because of her violent outburst. And then following this, it's pretty much rinse repeat. The only thing that's a bit offset on the next lap is spark spawns and when they use eruption and violent outburst, but you deal with it the exact same way, so I don't think I need to cover that. We got Silvas to 35% just as the 5th decree was ending, so pretty much after one lap. When that happened, every ranged DPS swapped to Pashmar and melee stayed on Silvas. We only had 3 melee DPS on our kill, so it was safe DPS wise to keep him on Silvas without a risk of him dying way before Pashmar. But if you're melee heavy, only keep like 3 of them on Silvas or start with Pashmar to 35% instead. Since the fight is so scripted, try to be as consistent as possible with how you move, where you stand during spreads, and when you clear your deferred stacks. It will make progress a lot simpler. And I think that's pretty much it for this fight, the Queen's Court. This fight felt like it was mostly about spark timings, when and how to move the bosses, and a good healing CD rotation. So with that said, if you have any questions or if you run into any issues during your progression, feel free to hit me up. If you want more in-depth info about a certain part of the fight, like tanking, healing cooldowns, soaks, whatever, just hit me up on Facebook or become a Patreon. And you will get access to my Discord where you can get all my weak auras, healing cooldowns, notes, etc. And it's the fastest way to get a hold of me. And on that note, I just want to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreons. I really appreciate the support. With that said, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, leave me a like and ring that notification bell. Thank you all for watching and I will see you next time.